In this video, I would like to introduce here a group of people whom I consider to be very much like-minded to me. As you know, currently I'm continuing to work on that book, which you can see on the screen, on the nature of reality. And this, of course, is building of some model. And this model is built logically. This model is built by analysis of existing data and making some reasonable conclusions on the basis of that. The book isn't finished, but I know the course, of course. I know in advance where all it goes. And observing the area of these studies of related to the topic of the nature of the reality, related to the consciousness, to mind, matter, reality, and so on. Monitoring this area of studies, I see different people with different opinions there, of course, with different motivations and reasons to build differently shaped theories out of the data that they deal with. But I do really like and share the approach which utilizes logic and analysis, which is well grounded in data and therefore provides reasonable conclusions, which means we have reasons to think something is that way or not that way. And this analytical approach is brilliantly presented by the group of people whom I want to introduce today in this video. They call themselves Essentia Foundation. So you can see them on the screen. Here's their YouTube channel. So here's the brief description of who they are. Actually, they are presenting the idea which they call analytical idealism. And I know in advance that what I am going to present within my book will be very much in correspondence with what they say here. That's not because I copy-paste or, stealing the ideas, but my conclusions and my ideas that I am going to present, that I have in my mind, my view is very similar to what these guys present. The leader of Essentia Foundation is Bernardo Kastrup. And I wanted to, he's from Netherlands, and defining his sphere of interests and occupation, we could say that he's a philosopher. Philosopher of mind, philosopher of consciousness, and philosopher interested in the questions of nature of reality, which in his view and in my view as well are very much connected questions. So Essentia Foundation, they have several playlists here on their YouTube channel, as you can see, but I'm very much interested in this one. This one on the screen, which is Analytic Idealism full course. It is, in my opinion, one of the most valuable things on the internet, on YouTube, related to the topic of nature of reality. This course itself, it's a playlist, so if you open the page, we can see that we have 7 videos here. So it's divided into 7 parts. In each of them, Bernardo represents this worldview and gives us explanation and reasoning, telling about why this worldview is trustable and valid, and why it has great explanatory power. And as this course was published, sometimes has already passed. I can't find right now. Let's check it. So it's description of the course. I don't see the date. No, 3 years ago. It was 3 years ago. So at that moment when I first met this course, I decided to. I was very impressed. It was real resonance with my own thoughts, views, and conclusions. Now, 3 years later, it continues to be in that resonance. So several years ago, I wrote some comments to the after finishing watching this course. I wrote some comments, and they were published on Twitter. At that moment, I used Twitter. But I hate Elon Musk and his new X social network, which is actually Twitter, renamed with no reason. So I quit Twitter a long time ago and switched to YouTube. And my understanding that Bernardo did the same, because at that moment he had account there. Now I can see that he doesn't. So the same about me. But what I would like to do today is just present this this group of people, Essentia Foundation, and its founder, its leader, Bernardo Kastrup, whom I deeply respect and whom I consider to be very much a like-minded person. I highly recommend his interviews, books, articles for everybody who is interested in the topic of mind consciousness, idealism, and the appropriate models of reality. So, as I said several years ago, I wrote a bunch of comments to different parts of this course on the screen and placed them on Twitter. Today I would like to take them from Twitter and put them here on YouTube, and for that purpose I'm going to use this video. So I will open this post of mine, initial post from 2021 to 2021, yeah. So it was almost 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Twitter is short message social network, so I have 27 parts there, but several nodes. As far as I remember, 7 notes maybe. You can see it here. Note number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on. So I would like to place all these notes here on the screen, within this video, and read them for you. I would like to fully take that material from Twitter and place it here on YouTube, as I think in future there will be some moments when I possibly will be willing to discuss some of that items, some of that thoughts, some of these thoughts with my friends, colleagues, and people who are interested in the topic. So what I'm going to do right now is just take these notes from here, read them for you, and that will be the way how we'll put them from X to YouTube. So, note number 1. In chapter 7, when I'm saying numbers here about chapters, these are the chapters of this course, from 1 to 7. And actually I could say here that first three parts here are introduction. Parts from 5 to 7 are some conclusions, details, and so on. And the main part here is this part number 4, revolutionary theory that Bernardo represents in this course, which is called Analytical Idealism. So again, my comments. In chapter 7, when talking about the stability of laws of nature, Bernardo is saying that anthropomorphization of universal consciousness is a mistake. But what comes next is a suggested way out of anthropomorphization. Mind underlying nature probably does not have any higher order mental functions. So this is the idea of Bernardo, and in my opinion, which I put here in the comment, that may be the way out to the quite wrong direction. The reason for that is that I suspect there is a contradiction between these hypotheses and the data collected from exploration of outer state of consciousness, where the collected experience is quite the opposite. The universal mind seems to extraordinarily differ from the human mind, that's true, but more probably by having unimaginably higher mental functions. So this is my comment number 1. Note number 2. The linguistic irony takes place towards one of the key terms, dissociation. The word itself seems to have a negative connotation, although this is the descriptive word for the creation process. Even more ironic culturally is that the death word, which actually denotes an end of dissociation, is also negative. Note number 3, to part 6. Lack of metaconsciousness, also known as unconscious, seems to be a continuation and logical completion of a dissociation process. Not only it excludes knowing all that was too much information in personal experience, but also hides what came from the transpersonal mind. It is probable that the boundary between the universal mind and its dissociated other is only one way impenetrable. We cannot know what is outside. At the same time, the universal mind spread freely, having access to all minds. Some aspect of the transpersonal mind push on the screen of perception. Some others are actually inside the alter and influence it. Not being aware of that is the important part of feeling oneself being separate. In other words, the lack of metaconsciousness area contains, in all terms, individual unconscious, collective unconscious, and reincarnation data, any experiences, in any combination previously collected by the transpersonal mind from lives of other dissociated others. Note number 4. If, as it's stated in the course, the psychedelics or non-drug technique lower the level of dissociation, then still it is very important to remember and take into account two things. The perception screen is still there, although it is dotted. Which means we will still see many of things not as they are, but as we are ready to see them. Second, inseparable mixture of personal and transpersonal content will probably take place. All this will probably make the interpretation of a trip experience an unsolvable problem. Unsolvable problem, I say here, but maybe I wouldn't say that now, 3 years later. We can discuss it a little bit later. Note number 5. The important thing about analytical idealism is that this world view contradicts the dissociation process. The dissociation process is about forgetting, not knowing, and excluding from the sphere of awareness. Analytic idealism, on the contrary, is about remembering, knowing, and being aware. Which means that analytical idealism will stand against dissociation mechanisms and will most probably meet the high level of psychological resistance in different forms like misinterpretation, deprecation, direct, unexplainable, intensive emotional rejection, and so on. Note number 6. Let's imagine for a second that analytical idealism has become a major scientific paradigm, which I do not believe may happen in do not know how many years in the nearest perspective. But let's imagine that, and what could be its possible outcomes in these roles? This is, of course, legitimization and higher value for the researchers of the different kinds of experience themselves, like psychedelic invoked experiences in the ears and so on. And a new line in many modern experiments and interpretation, the quantum physics in the first row. In its turn, the consequences of this new attitude could lay in the area of new unexpected discoveries and unpredictable practical results. Note number 7. I think that it would be quite good to remember that any theory including so promising and having so great explanation power as the analytic idealism is just an approximate model ignoring some aspects and data. Note number 8. There are all the reasons to believe that analytic idealism is not a new worldview, but instead a very ancient one, only told with the words of a new time. If so, let us think a bit about what were the practical outcomes of this theory throughout the history of humankind. I think they were pathetic. Only a very limited number of people around the world who gained some results and then completely failed to share them or decided not to share at all. I do not see any reasons to believe that some different future is awaiting for analytical idealism. Here we face a great irony, which is that the realm of a potentially wrong worldview, like materialism, people achieve in that realm great practical results And in the realm of potentially adequate worldview, like analytical idealism, practical outcome is probably going to remain very close to zero. That's all with my comments. I will include them into video description so that we can deal with them in future. At the moment I could say that I disagree with my own notes, some of them, but some of them still remain actual. Thanks, bye.